Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new Doctor Who news video. Today we're talking, I don't know why I said it like that, but today we're talking about the 60th anniversary special for Doctor Who. They've been filming all week. It's been a hell of a hectic week for Doctor Who fans, theorising, seeing filming stuff, and yeah, it's been totally hectic, but I thought I'd wait till the end of the week and then break down all of the stuff that we've got. Now, obviously, I don't have all the photos and information in the world, but I do have a decent amount of stuff to sort of spill through and talk about today. Theorising anything and sort of talking about everything that we know so far about the 60th. So obviously, just be aware that there probably will be spoilers or potential spoilers, whether minor or major, for the 60th anniversary special or specials of Doctor Who. So yeah. We're going to start with talking about the characters that were seen filming on location, a few priorly announced, a few not, just so when we get to the right points of the video, I don't have to explain who these people are, etc, etc, etc. So, obviously we've got David Tennant returning as the Doctor. Which Doctor? We aren't really sure yet, but we'll talk about that in just a minute. We've got Catherine Tate returning as Donna Noble. We've got Wilfred Mott, Donna's granddad. Sylvia Noble, Donna's mum. Sean Temple, who was Donna's husband, and a new character called Rose. Those are all the main cast members that we see on these filming locations throughout this sort of video. So, yeah. So we're going to start with day one shooting. I have already done a video on the first day of shooting because, you know, I was there at the time, and like on it, and was ready to make content. It was only when they kept filming day after day that I thought maybe I'll wait till the end of the week before doing another video, which is this one. But we'll sort of race over the things we already know from that first video, as we do have a few nicer quality photos now to talk through. So day one, they were filming in Camden Market, outside Cyberdog, which is a hell of a shop. It's very strange, but if you've never been, it's wonderful. And the Modfather as well. All the way down that street, you really couldn't get anywhere near it. They were filming there, some stuff got seen, and then I sort of went to the location because I live around the corner from Camden. I couldn't personally see much on that day, but I did go again the second day and was able to see a bit more, so yeah, that's that. But for the first day, what we did see is a few interesting things, notably, of course, David Tennant's new look for the Doctor. So he's come back, he's got his short hair again, a lot of people will be happy to see he's got spiky hair and nothing sort of brushed over like the 50th anniversary, so he looks a little bit more like his older self, but actually, interestingly enough, a completely different costume. Similar in terms of style, of course. The coat is very similar to that of his previous, albeit a bit shorter, and the sort of tight suit is very similar to the pinstripe look, but it isn't actually a pinstripe costume. We're going to talk about that in more detail in just a bit, but for now, here's the sort of opening photos we have of David Tennant, followed by one of David Tennant and Catherine Tate outside of the TARDIS. Interestingly enough, and we'll talk about this again in a bit, it's Jodie's TARDIS, which could mean something interesting indeed. We've got more shots of the main two actors before moving on to sort of later in the scene, where we had some great new photos. Obviously now we can see that David's coat is blue, and underneath, again, it's quite difficult to see what his sort of suit is made out of, but with further inspection on different photos throughout the days, it was revealed to us that it is sort of tartan colour. This, mixed with the 13th Doctor's TARDIS being used, implies heavily to me that David Tennant is not playing his version of the Doctor, but instead some sort of anomaly Doctor, some sort of, you know, a version that something goes wrong with the regeneration and he has to step in and sort things out so we can fully regenerate into the next Doctor. I don't necessarily think Tennant is 14, that's not what I'm saying. I kind of feel like it's a temporary weird thing that's gone wrong, but for now, that's the kind of theory I'm having, where he's going to be in between Jodie and Ncuti. I have a feeling that whether they call him 14 or whether they call him the Anomaly Doctor or whether it's some sort of degeneration, when we see Jodie regenerate in the Centenary, I'll be shocked at this point if she doesn't regenerate into David Tennant, which is very interesting to say, but, you know, it's cool. Just with the new look and everything, it doesn't make sense to completely redesign his costume, and then we've got a new Sonic later on, which we're going to talk about, and Jodie's TARDIS, which implies it comes right after that. I would be at first speculative, because I was kind of like, okay, it's Jodie's TARDIS, but that might not be his TARDIS. It could be Ncuti's TARDIS, and Ncuti might be elsewhere in the scene, but Ncuti Gatwa has not been seen filming this at all. It's all been David Tennant and that era crew, so yeah, very interesting. What follows in the rest of the day is very interesting indeed. Wilf showed up on set, played by Bernard Cribbins, of course. A fan favourite character, and definitely a fan favourite character for myself as well. Absolutely love this character and, you know, what they contribute to the show and all that sort of thing. It's great to see Wilf back, and I'm never not going to be excited by that. That was the thing for me that was so exciting initially, was seeing him back in the show, because he's 93, bless him. I mean, I didn't expect that to happen, but here we are, and I am not complaining. The scene that sort of follows, we've got a little bit of a video here that I did show the other week as well. We've got sort of David Tennant and Catherine Tate kind of looking up at the sky at something. Maybe something's crash landing, or maybe some aliens are here. But he looks up in the sky and then panics and starts to push Wilf on his wheelchair. Elsewhere in the scene, we also have a coffee stand that does actually explode, which is quite interesting. A lot of extras running away. So it would imply to me that either something crashes into the coffee stand, or we have some sort of spaceship or some sort of minor alien thing above that shoots something into the coffee shop, blowing it up. Interesting. I'm not sure exactly where this fits into the story, but it's interesting. It was also reported that Rachel Talalay was seen on set this day, which I think she denied that she was directing the episode, but she was very clearly seen, and after being seen again on day 2, which we'll talk about in just a sec, she did in fact confirm that she is directing this special. Whether it's one of 3 or one of 2 60th anniversary specials, that's unclear, but she is at the very least, directing one, which is really exciting because she's a great director. Moving on to day 2, we have a lot more of the family stuff. We don't see Wilf, but we do see Rose, Sylvia and Sean back here, which is really particularly interesting. There's a lot of things to kind of break down with this. The scene is sort of further down the street. They get out of a taxi, which seems to be driven by Sean, and they all walk out towards the TARDIS before the TARDIS dematerialises, with the Doctor and Donna inside of it. There's a few things to break down. Obviously, you can see in the video that hopefully I'm showing on screen now that the Doctor and Donna sort of get out first and walk together, then followed by Sylvia and Rose, who seem very close, and the kind of relationship that I would throw there is to a sort of grandmotherly kind of relationship. Rose is, of course, our new character, played by Yasmin Finney, and a potential new companion for the next era of the show with Ncuti Gat. Well, we don't know 100% yet, but it could very well be the case. But at this point in time, there's a lot of speculation as to who Rose actually is, and I think it's pretty clear at this point, and it will be pretty clear as we go through the rest of this video, that she is most likely going to be Donna and Sean's daughter, which is really interesting, and I'm kind of excited for that. When they get towards the TARDIS area, the 3, Rose, Sylvia and Sean, stand outside the TARDIS while the Doctor and Donna talk to them and sort of between each other. Donna and the Doctor enter the TARDIS, and then we have the dematerialisation effect. We know that because they bring out a big wind machine, some lighting effects, and throw some rubbish in the actors' faces. What's interesting here, though, is the reaction from the actors. If it was intended that Donna was going to go with the Doctor, their reaction wouldn't be this kind of worried. Sean was heard apparently shouting Donna, and Rose apparently heard shouting Mum, which again lends weight to that theory. Sylvia was just kind of waving her arms about kind of flippantly, so we don't know exactly what was being said or what was trying to be conveyed in this part of the scene, but I'm implying that it actually wasn't intentional that Donna was supposed to go with the Doctor. So here's a few things. We don't know if Donna's remembered by this point, but let's say either she has or she hasn't. She walks back to the TARDIS with the Doctor, and she wants to take one last look at the console room before he sort of flies off. When in there, maybe she remembers how to fly it, because that was obviously insinuated a few times in the Sontaran stratagem, and of course she becomes the Dr. Donna at the end of Journey's End, so she also does know that. Maybe she activates the TARDIS and flies it off for one last big adventure, without telling her family, of course. Or maybe it's an accidental thing. Maybe the Doctor does it. Maybe it's, you know, whatever it is, the family of Donna aren't expecting the TARDIS to fly off with her inside of it, but it does. So that's quite exciting. Interesting dynamic with the family there, but also interesting that we are getting the Doctor and Donna flying around in the TARDIS once more, which is really weird to be able to say it and still doesn't feel quite real, but that is the case and that is happening. As we go into the night shoots, these were a bit more blocked off. For days 2 and 3, they kind of play out the same scene further down in Camden, underneath the bridge and in the main market area. They asked people not to take as many photos with this. A few have been snapped, and I'm going to show you them on screen here. But not many were captured because they just didn't want people to be shooting on there, and they obviously kept fans and viewers quite far away. During the day shoot stuff, they were quite happy for fans to just watch and enjoy it and be part of it. It was very community-like. I headed up there for the second day, and I got to see some of the filming, including the dematerialization. very exciting stuff, and it was just like a great experience. And you could tell the cast and crew really love having the fans around, and it just, again, I guess it kind of boosts morale in a bit of a weird way, but doesn't show too much. And when you do give fans that and you allow them that, it's also a nice two-way trust and respect that when it comes to the night shoot stuff and they say don't take any photos, don't take any videos, there are the absolute bare minimum. You really can't find much, and I think that's really nice to see. That being said, let's break down exactly what we do have. So for the night shoots on day 2 and 3, we have this one photo here of Sean driving the taxi once again, and David Tennant's doctor sort of leaning in, grabbing for his sonic screwdriver. Talking of which, the sonic screwdriver is brand new. We have a couple photos here, which I did my own video on about, sort of breaking that down a little bit more if you want to check that out. A very interesting design that we couldn't really break down too much, but it is new. They've gone back to the blue, they've got this sort of like handle. It seems to be sort of beige around the sort of handle area. I'm also going to just quickly drop this here. Thank you to this guy for putting this on Twitter, because it's absolutely wonderful. Go and check them out. I don't want to put this in there without any major credit, because it's a wonderful 3D model of the potential look for the new sonic screwdriver. I don't think it's going to be 100% like this, but the very top of it, the emitter at the very least, looks very similar, and yeah, I'm kind of here for that. It looks kind of cool, it's kind of different. Maybe the handle and the shaft could be a bit better overall in terms of the final design. But yeah, generally this is a great little mock-up of what we've seen so far from the photos. It's excellent. Go and check that Twitter out. It's a great little reference. And in terms of the scene that was being filmed, we do have a person on set who was giving us a few little details to work from, which have, I believe, been backed up with various sources. I don't know if there's any images of these. I personally couldn't find any. I think there was one at one point of Donna holding some boxes in front of her face, which matches kind of what's said here. But yeah, let's just read this through and see what it is. So this is apparently what was happening on the night shoot. The doctor bumps into a woman carrying a tower of boxes that covers her face. He helps her with the boxes, removing a few of them, and as he removes them, it's revealed to be Donna. The doctor puts the boxes back in the tower and tries to walk away. Something that the guy couldn't hear in the footage makes him turn back around. Donna shouts for Rose, which confuses the doctor, as it would, and then Donna's daughter Rose runs up to them. The doctor shakes hands with Rose as Donna sorts out the boxes in the background. The on-set stage direction suggests a spaceship then flies overhead and crashes nearby, which Donna doesn't quite see, presumably to keep up the joke that Donna keeps missing these things. The doctor scans the ship with the new sonic. Sean Temple, Donna's husband, arrives in a taxi, calls for Rose, but the doctor runs to the taxi and uses it for himself. He says Alonzi as he gets inside, and he's also using his standard 10th Doctor accent. So a lot of interesting things there, but again, take all this with a pinch of salt. It could be majorly true, it could be not, but it does sound like a very Tennant-era Russell T Davies kind of opening to an episode. The kind of mystery box of seeing Donna and then going, oh shit, yeah, and then Rose, oh, that pricks your ears up, and then obviously the thing with the taxi, like, the doctor's thinking, oh, I'll just jump in this taxi and just use that to get away from this situation, see what's happening with that spaceship, not realising, of course, that if he's getting in a taxi with Donna's husband, he might not have realised that, and that'll be an interesting little comedic moment that they can use. And quite nice as well that they're bringing the whole, like, a little bit full circle with the runaway bride and the taxi scenes and stuff. It's nice to see, and hopefully that is sort of paid off in a nice little way. But that scene sounds interesting. It sounds like definitely the start of the story, or maybe something along those lines. It's probably, if he is regenerated into David Tennant again, I would expect the Doctor to be trying to work out throughout the story why that's the case and what's going on. Obviously, at this point, if he's got a new costume, the likelihood is that he's just sort of now scanning for a spaceship and seeing what's going wrong and sort of being dragged into what's happening on Earth. But generally, quite interesting. I like it. Anyway, on to the last couple of days. It was unfortunately a closed set, so you couldn't really see much, but they were filming at Wembley, and we do have a couple of things to talk about. Donna and Sean were both seen around the area of production in similar costumes to what they were wearing on the previous days, but as well as that, we also have images of some brand new unit soldiers, which look particularly interesting. The unit logo looks slightly different, the armour is completely different, looking much more like heavily made, heavily armoured. I'm not really sure exactly, what to say about this or what to think about it. It's just unit soldiers. They look slightly different again. They've had a bit of a redesign, but it does confirm unit inclusion into the 60th anniversary, which is quite nice. So maybe we'll get some sort of Kate Stewart cameo, maybe some Osgood stuff. Who knows? I'm hoping we get some unit characters as well, though. For now, quite exciting. But that is basically all of the sort of rundowns of everything that's been shooting. it's been a very busy week and a very exciting one. In terms of my theories for where this special's going to go, I genuinely don't think it's going to be one special. I think we're going to get about 2 or 3 60th anniversary specials, which is an incredibly exciting thing to say. I reckon this little mini arc before Ncuti Gatwa becomes the Doctor is going to be revolved around the regeneration going wrong and the Doctor being dragged into sort of events on Earth whilst having to sort of coerce with a family of an old companion. And maybe Rose will end up being the new companion. We don't really know. We've never had that sort of dynamic before where the companion is the child of a former companion. That's interesting, and I would love to see that. I've just caught up on Heartstopper. Is it Heartstopper? Or yeah, I think that's right. And Yasmin Finney's great in that, so I'd be more than happy to see her as the companion. But yeah, no, there's some great stuff there and a lot of interesting theories to unpack. But let me know what you think about it in the comments below. We're going to be making some more content on this sort of stuff soon when we see more filming stuff, when we hear more news. Of course, we'll talk about it. But yeah, this is just amazing that we have this much so far. Stay tuned for more in the future. Thank you so much for watching. Please check out my socials, Twitter, Instagram, all that sort of stuff in the description below. Subscribe, like, comment if you haven't already. And I will see you all next time. Have a lovely day. Bye-bye.